Most artists learn the color wheel as primaries and secondaries, but almost no one explains what a hue really is, how it differs from color, or where black and white fit into the system. So in this lesson, we are going to build a color wheel step by step and use it to clarify the difference between hue and color. Plus the big question, are black and white actually colors? Let's begin with a foundation. Primary colors are colors that cannot be created by mixing other colors. In traditional painting, these are red, yellow, and blue. Everything else we see on the color wheel grows out of these three. Secondary colors. When we mix two primary colors in equal parts, we get secondary colors. Red and yellow make orange. Red and blue make purple. Blue and yellow make a green. Tertiary colors. We create tertiary colors by mixing a primary color with a neighboring secondary. Red-orange, yellow-orange, yellow-green, blue-green, blue-purple, and red-purple. Together, these form a 12-hue color wheel. Now take a moment to really look at this painted wheel. Mixing the traditional red, yellow, and blue primaries doesn't produce perfectly clean secondary colors. That's normal, and in a later lesson, I'll explain why these mixtures often appear slightly muted or muddy. On this wheel, the colors appear clearer, more even, almost ideal. So what's the difference? The first wheel shows how color behaves in real materials, paint, pigment, physical mixing. The second shows a simplified model, what we expect color relationships to look like. Understanding this difference allows us to recognize that color systems are not fixed truths, but frameworks shaped by medium and purpose. We often use the words hue and color as if they mean the same thing, but they have distinct meanings. A hue is a color in its pure state. No white added, no black added, no gray. It's the basic identity of a color. Its position on the wheel. You can think of it as the parent color. Pink, for example, is not a hue. It's a variation of red. The hue of pink is red. Color, on the other hand, is a broader term. It includes all variations of a hue. I'll cover this topic in a separate lesson. Are black and white actually colors? There is a great deal of confusion around it. The answer depends on how we define color. And to understand that, we need to look at two different systems. First, additive color. Additive color is based on light. You start with darkness. No light means black. As you add light, color begins to appear. And when red, green, and blue light combine fully, they create white. In this system, black is the absence of light, and white is the presence of all light. Subtractive color describes how physical materials, such as paint and ink, interact with light. Now let's return to painting. Here, we are not adding light, we are working with pigment. We start with a white surface, and every color we add absorbs part of that light. The more we mix, the more light is removed, and the darker or muted the result becomes. Traditionally, artists use red, yellow, and blue as primaries. But in modern color theory, especially in printing and digital systems, a different set of primaries is used: cyan, magenta, and yellow. This system allows for much cleaner and more predictable color mixing. And it helps explain why our painted mixtures sometimes feel imperfect. Now that we have seen how additive color works with light and subtractive color works with paint and ink, we can start to bridge those systems. Color simply behaves differently depending on the medium, whether it's light on a screen, paint on a canvas, or ink on paper. In addition, artists, scientists, and everyday language do not always define color in the same way. This is where much of the confusion comes from. So what we are seeing is not a contradiction, but overlapping perspectives. People talking about light versus pigment, artists focusing on what is useful in practice, and physicists emphasizing on strict physical definitions. And then, how about everyday language? We casually refer to black clothing or white paint as colors without thinking twice. When people answer yes or no to the question, are black and white colors? Most of the time, they're just using different definitions of the word color and talking past each other rather than actually disagreeing about the underlying science. For this reason, the question of whether black and white are colors cannot really be answered with a simple yes or no. As painters, we don't need to win that debate. We need something we can use on the canvas. So here is a simple, practical answer for artists. We usually treat black, white, and gray as achromatic colors. They are colors without hue. They don't get their own slice on the color wheel, but they absolutely matter in your painting decisions. They control value, contrast, and mood, and they are often the key to making your hues really sing.